So, welcome to Charlton Classic Roadshow. This is a podcast brought to you by Charlton Park Classic, which is an event taking place in the end of June, 27th to the 29th of June. And it'll be a showcase of beautiful classic, super concourse cars. The aim of the podcast is to talk about some of the themes that underpin our event. And we want to talk to industry experts, car enthusiasts, small business owners like Tony here, and get their take on challenges, opportunities, trends within the industry, and hopefully get some insights and some valuable data in order to work out what the future of the industry might look like, and maybe a way that we can improve it or future-proof the industry. So without further ado, we have today small business owner, car enthusiast, greatest dad in the world, Tony Grant.
Hello.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, so I run Small Car Big City. We've got a fleet of 11 classic minis that we run for sightseeing and experiences around central London. We've been going for 15 years somehow. We've had tens of thousands of customers over the years. The cars are available with a chauffeur or for hire for people to drive themselves. And we put a lot of care and attention into our little cars to keep them delivering the level of service that we have to. And I'd like to think these days most mini owners have heard of us or have come across us somewhere.
What are the biggest challenges that you face?
I mean, we're relatively unique within the industry. There's nobody really doing an identical model to us, but I know across the industry parts quality has been a huge problem for years now. The quality of parts coming through, particularly for cars at the sort of cheaper owner end, like a Classic Mini, MGB, Morris Minor, the sort of very affordable classics. There's a bit of a race to the bottom for parts costs. So it's becoming more expensive to repair the cars because you're paying more for the mechanic's time, but often you're paying that twice because the parts will fail very, very quickly. We have to life our parts quite significantly because we work the cars fairly hard. Insurance is also a big problem across the classics industry, and I think probably across car ownership across the country.
Yeah,
Insurance for drivers, let alone for businesses, is creeping or climbing up. We're fairly lucky these days because we've been going for a while, but a new classic car hire business can be looking at thousands of pounds a year per car.
Yeah, I think there are huge barriers to entry now for anyone trying to get into the market, which in a good way is good for you, for your business.
Yeah, we're okay. We're in.
I'm all right, Jack.
Yeah.
But is it good for the industry as a whole? Because surely we want more small businesses cropping up to grow the industry.
I think so. I think I've never believed in just because you're both working in the same sector, you can't be friends with a similar business. There are enough car enthusiasts to go round, whether you're hiring them, working with them, photographing them, repairing them. There are still so many out there.
It's a job for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And from our point of view, the more companies like that we've got to know, the more services we can offer, the more work we can do, the more we can diversify. It's all important. And I feel like there are fewer and fewer businesses, particularly in recent years. I think there was a bit of a boom around COVID when the lockdowns eased, but since then, I think quite a few car hire businesses have really struggled. Classic car hire, particularly.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think you're right about the cost of parts and the maintenance costs are extortionate. And you get to the point where I'm sure you've had this with your minis, where the price of just buying a new one, it's almost worth doing that than spending the amount it costs to keep repairing the same one.
Oh yeah. I mean, we have to look at it I'm a little bit more pragmatic than some of my colleagues who get very emotionally attached to the cars, but they're a working asset.
The
And we
workhorses.
know, yeah, we know our minis cost £2 a mile to maintain. Before you've put a driver in them, fuel in them, anything else, it's £2 per mile. So if I drive the car home from our car park, which is 12 miles, by the time I've come here and I've gone back again, it's already cost the business almost 50 quid.
Well, kind of leading on from that, how do you view the classic car hire business as a contributor for the longevity of the industry?
The more people see cars, the more they know those cars, the more motivated they are to love that car. So the continuation brands are an interesting example of this. You know, the Fiat 500, the Mini, Jaguar. The more people see those brands, the more they love the classics. And the classic cars that get less talked about by anyone other than hardcore enthusiasts are the ones that don't exist anymore or are not on TV and film and the places where you see them regularly.
Yeah, no
So
one talks about a Bristol.
no,
And
no,
it's sad.
exactly. There's a guy down the road with a Bristol from me, and therefore people talk about it here, but only when you see it.
Mm.
So if cars are available to hire and drive and experience, then we see a lot of people hiring cars to try before they buy. So I'm thinking that I might go and buy an old Mini. Can I drive yours for an afternoon? And that really helps. That's easy with a Mini. That's really hard with like a Morgan three-wheeler or a 1934 BSA tricycle or something. Like you just can't. There's
No.
probably only two in the country.
Yeah, I was about to say the
So
accessibility of that is next to nothing.
exactly,
Well, I guess
exactly.
you're providing more accessibility to people, and maybe people who can't afford to own classic cars, don't have
Hmm.
the facilities, storage, don't know enough about them to want to maintain them or work on them. Maybe I feel like the classic car hire industry provides another option for people to experience these cars and gain access to that world, but without having to take on the maintenance cost, the liability, and everything else.
So I want cars that I saw on the road in the 80s. I generally don't want cars that were driving around in the 1930s, 1940s because I haven't seen them enough. You know,
Yeah, but this is where we differ. I'd say they're the ones that I
yes.
want.
Yeah, and like that's the one that I would genuinely love to own, but I couldn't tell you which one because I just don't know enough
Yes.
about them and I don't
Yeah.
know how to maintain them properly. And the same goes for a lot of people within a generation. They love the cars that were 30, 40 years previous.
Yeah, what their parents may have drove them to school in,
Yeah.
and that's where you have, I think my generation is looking a lot at the 80s
Hmm.
era
Hmm.
because they're the now modern classics coming in. They're the
Exactly.
cars that we can afford
Yeah.
because they're at the low
Yeah.
end. You've got Jaguar XJS, they're starting to become
Yes.
quite popular.
Yes.
Porsche 924s, 944s. I looked at a Porsche 944 a year ago and it
Mhm.
was under 10 grand and they're now 15 to 20 grand. And
Incredible,
that's
isn't
in
it?
1 year they've
Yeah.
skyrocketed.
Whereas
Um,
if you looked at an Austin 7, obviously a very,
yes,
very different driving experience,
yeah,
but those pre-war cars, other than the really big headliners, like
yeah,
the
the
Bentley
Bentleys,
blowers and that sort of thing,
Alfa 638
um,
AC.
they are slowly slipping away because there's no one left to maintain them. There's no one left with the skills.
Yeah, they're being forgotten. And to be honest, that's what we're kind of trying to do with this podcast and with the whole
Hmm.
event is we want to be able to future proof the industry and work out ways which we can help and provide opportunity for younger generations to get involved. Firstly, women, for me, is very important to
Hmm.
get involved in the industry. Um, and ensuring that these cars, they're pieces of artwork, let alone beautiful machinery. And I don't want them to be forgotten and lost and turn into scraps of rusty metal. So I think by putting on car shows, running car clubs, having small businesses, hiring out classic cars. These are all ways which we can provide connection back with these cars and breed awareness and kind of build the community around it around them to build the longevity of the industry.
It's important that people have somewhere to go with their cars and they are allowed to go to those places with their cars.
How can you mix your love of cars with also making money? And then it's a win-win, really, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's the old adage of if you can do something you enjoy every day, then you'll never have a day of work in your life. And there are days when driving an old car around London is absolutely joyous, and you are, in our case, we are creating memories that people will hopefully have for the rest of their lives. A lot of our guests will only come to London a handful of times, and if we can show them the city, and if we can show you a few of the hidden gems that they wouldn't find on their own and have a great time along the way, then we're really creating something special there. And I think any classic car hire business, wherever you are in the world, has that capability. I hired an Alfa Romeo Spider on the Amalfi Coast a few years ago for one day. And it was, I should probably say, other than marrying my wife and the birth of my children, one of the best days of my life. And it was fantastic because it was just lovely. And it was, the car was nice, but it was a 70s Alfa Spider. It's not gonna,
blow your socks off.
No, but it was a beautiful day in a beautiful car. And I just had a lovely time. I would have appreciated a seatbelt on some of those blind cliffside hairpins, but if we'd have gone down,
but if you're going off, you're going off. Yes, seatbelt's not going to do much. If you're going to go out, you might as well go out with style, I say.
Yeah.
Oh wow! Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Tony, and
Pleasure.
giving us insight into your world and your business, and telling us a bit about the challenges you face as a small business owner, and how you view the future of the industry. It's been really interesting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on.
It's been a pleasure.